So welcome to another Tokyo Revengers video guys. And yeah, the last chapter gave us all a huge shock. And that chapter was pretty insane. Because Shinichiro is a time leaper. To be honest, I didn't expect this at all. Many people say that Shinichiro is likely to be the villain of the story. At the same time, some said that he is likely to be a time leaper. At that time I was not very interested in it. Because as we all know, Shinichiro has very little screen time in the story. Even so, his influence on the story was immense. We get a little information about Shinichiro in each arc of the story. It's all flashback scenes. But now we are going to know more about Shinichiro. His character has always been a mystery. After the latest chapter, it only makes us more interested in his character. So before we talk about that, as usual guys, I would kindly appreciate it if you can drop a like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Let's go into the video now. So I want to talk about many things in this video. Shinichiro's time travel and this opening scene of the series. Because some people think that Shinichiro pushed Takemichi off the tracks in this scene. And the Black Dragon Gang has more involvement in the story than we thought. Many things happened in this final battle. But before that, we've got an official spoiler from Ken Wakui-sensei. As you can see in the picture here, it's Shinichiro. He seems to be talking to someone. Wakasa already knew that Shinichiro was a time leaper. But the important question is who is his trigger? Also in this picture we can see that there are 3 persons. Since this is a draft page, we don't know who they are. I think it's Sanzu, Mikey, and Senju. Because Mikey said, "Dark impulse born out of love." I think Shinichiro already knows about this. He wanted to save Mikey. But we don't know what his real reason is. I guess we will find out in the upcoming chapters. If you guys have any theory about this photo, share it with me in community post. So I can make a separate video on that. Now let's talk about the main content of the video. Mikey actually said it. Shinichiro is a time leaper. Some people also started talking about grammatical error. Tokyo Revengers chapters are translated by fans. So sometimes translation errors are common. But what Mikey told Takemichi in this scene was right. Mikey should have said, was, instead of is. Maybe Shinichiro is stuck in another timeline. Or there is a theory that 2 time leapers cannot exist in the same timeline at the same time. Yeah, if either Hanma or Sanzu were revealed to be a time leaper, it wouldn't shock us too much. But this is Shinichiro. Ken Wakui-sensei has made a huge twist in the story. But it depends on how he handles it. I still believe in him. Because he didn't rush the story till now. The beginning of the final arc, the 3 deities battle, and now the final battle. If we pay close attention, the influence of the Black Dragon Gang members is very high in all these arcs. We got a glimpse of the formation of the Black Dragon Gang in chapter 230. And in the same chapter, we see this scene. Both Takemichi and Shinichiro have similar personalities and traits. He didn't pick fights with anyone strong than him. Never won any fight. And top of it all, he was a crybaby. We can see the same characteristics in Takemichi. I wouldn't say that Takemichi is the reincarnation of that Shinichiro. To me, I think that would ruin the story. But there is a huge connection between Shinichiro and Takemichi. I personally like the theory that 2 time leapers cannot be in the same timeline at the same time. But if this is true, I don't know what Hanma's role is in this battle. In chapter 200, Hanma was talking about Pierrot and Reaper story in front of Kasaki's grave. I don't know much more about it. I think Hanma is likely to play an important role in this battle, regardless of what happens in the story. We see him from the beginning of the story. But Hanma definitely didn't push Takemichi over the train tracks. At the start of the series, we don't see that person's hand. But many people thought it might be Hanma. Originally, the person's hand was not shown in both manga and anime. This picture of Hanma sitting on the tracks was very interesting. However, we see this scene once again in chapter 245, during the fight between Takemichi and Kikucho. The man who pushed Takemichi didn't have any tattoos on his arm. But we all already know that Hanma has tattoos on both his hands. So this person must be a member of the Black Dragon gang. Takemichi is not the first time leaper. I always had this doubt. Now my theory has come true. Most people are confused about the first and second timeline. So, I will try to explain it as best as I can. We all know what happened at the beginning of the story. Hinata and Naoto both die in an accident. The dispute with the city's Tokyo Manji gang continues to intensify and has finally incurred civilian casualties. And 2 of them have died. So Naoto has no chance to save that Takemichi in this timeline. At the same time, Akin must have been in prison at this time. Because he killed Kiyomosa when he was 16 years old. But, after Takemichi's second time travel, we can see this scene. Even Naoto is a little surprised to see this. Akin big shot of Toman gang, but he must have been in jail. But Takemichi has changed the past. Akin was not arrested by the police due to that. So we can divide this into 2 timelines. So there is no trigger in the first timeline for Takemichi. But Hinata was the only person who came to his mind at the time of his death. He did not even think about his friends or family. So in the first timeline everything was very normal. At the moment of his death, he performed time travel. So basically, we don't know how time travel works in the story. I originally thought that Takemichi's own feelings were his trigger. But after the latest chapter, I think the person who pushed Takemichi might have the time leap power. I don't know how to explain this. Like I said before, Shinichiro could have died in the first timeline. We saw his dead body in Mikey's story. If Shinichiro is a time leaper, he already knows when he will die. At this point, we cannot say anything for sure. I think the biggest twist in the story will be the identity of the person who pushed Takemichi off the tracks. Okay, now, Naoto didn't save the Takemichi in the first timeline. And in the first timeline, I think Naoto was not a detective officer. Because he knew nothing about this incident. That is why he also died in this incident. But Takemichi told him all things in the past. The day Hinata will die in the future. The day he falls on the tracks. Naoto could not save his sister. Instead he saved Takemichi. Because he remembers well the date that Takemichi told him. The reason Takemichi came back to the future was only because he was alive. Otherwise, he would have been in the past. So Akin is not the person who pushed Takemichi off the tracks in the first place. All of this must have been started by someone else. Anyone who knew anything about another time leaper or time leap before Takemichi must have been in this timeline. So if Shinichiro is behind all this, then Ken Wakui-sensei should give us a proper explanation. After all, this is his own story. So what do you guys think about this? And if you guys have a theory, you can share it with me on Instagram too. But anyway. So if you guys like this video, hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe. And good luck to all.